Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the April 6th Canyon City City Council meeting. We're happy that you are here. And we are going to work through our agenda, and the first thing on our agenda is for the invocation. So Bradley Buck from Bridge to Life Assembly of God Church.
We need roll call, please.
Need to do that. So they got me used to this tech stuff, and then it's bad today. They did an upgrade, and so we need to go back to the old way of doing it. Otherwise, normally people would check in. So as we have done in the past, the clerk will call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Here.
Councilmember Maloney?
Here.
Councilmember Schmischer?
Here.
Councilmember, hold on, this one is absolutely incorrect. See, we're all old school. Let's try there again. Councilmember Reeves?
Here.
Councilmember Tony?
Here.
Councilmember Worthington?
Here.
Mayor Pro Tem Schmischer?
Here.
Mayor Lund?
Here. And if we stumbled tonight, it's again, they took our tech away after we got used to it for 3 months. So here we are. Okay, with that, Bradley Buck from Bridge to Life Assembly of God, if everyone could stand, and then we'll follow that up with this Pledge of Allegiance.
Father in heaven, we owe you thanks tonight. You are better to us than we deserve, even better to us than we are aware of, and you went beyond all we could have hoped for when you gave your son for us. I pray that tonight you'll be honored in the proceedings that take place and in the decisions that are made, and that decisions will benefit the citizens of Canyon City, the city that you care more about than we know. Thank you for your protection, your guidance, for your good plans for us. Have your way, I pray. Amen.
Amen. I pledge allegiance to the flag
Flag.
of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. So hopefully everyone has filled out one of these sheets if you are interested. There are a number of them that are specific to topics that we are going to be covering during the council meeting, and I would like to have those at that time so we actually have information and that's out and you can address that. There are two that don't fall into what I think is going to be things that we're going to be discussing. So I'm going to ask, first of all, Charlene Hanson, if you would come up and address the council, please. Thank you for coming tonight.
Good evening, everybody. Thanks for having me. My name is Charlene Hanson, and I'm here as a representative of the Colorado Foundation for Universal Healthcare. And I wanted to let the council, as well as everybody here, know that we are working on a study this year for the feasibility of implementing a single-payer universal health care system for the state of Colorado. What the goal would be to ensure every single resident, nobody goes without coverage, nobody's filing medical bankruptcy, and nobody's having to choose between rent and food in their insurance premiums. So this Wednesday night, we are having a free screening of a documentary called Healing Us. It is produced by Dr. Joe Jarvis from the state of Utah. He is heading up Utah's efforts towards a single-payer bill in that state, and he's actually going to be driving over here to be here at the presentation this Wednesday. It is this Wednesday night over at the Steeple Center from 6 to 8. I apologize, I thought I was completely all together and I left all of my flyers at home, so please, Wednesday night from 6 to 8, we do have the free showing about Healing Us and starting to kickstart those discussions about what a single-payer system could look like, and also get input on what people would like to see included. This will be followed up by a town hall that we're going to have on Wednesday the 29th, also from 6 to 8. Also at the Steeple Center, where we're really going to start to get into the nitty-gritty, listening to people's stories about how their current insurance system is falling short, and get their stories as well as get their input on what they would like to see in a system like this.
Okay, thank you, Charlene. And the Steeple Event Center address is 701 Macon, so if anybody has an interest in that. Next is Tim Foster. Tim? He's on the topic? Okay, I didn't catch that, so I will set him aside. Okay, very good. The rest of you all have specific topics that you're going to be addressing, so we'll go with that. I will now deal with committee updates, and Councilmember Tony, I'd like to start with you with Finance, Budget, and Public Works.
All right, thank you, and thank everyone for being here. I'll give a quick overview of where we've come from. Since the new council was sworn in January, we made significant progress in improving the city and how the city engages with residents and addresses key issues. Early orientations and educational sessions help prepare us to serve effectively. And one of our first priorities was appointing local residents to our advisory committees. These committees help strengthen communication between the city and our citizens, including county residents living near Canyon City boundaries. The three primary committees were established: the Economic Development, Public Safety and Quality of Life, Finance, Budget, Public Works Committee. And I was honored to be the chairman of the Finance, Budget, Public Works Committee. And so I've been leading the efforts there with a lot of help from some of the other council members and some of our citizens. Due to the short timeline associated with decisions regarding the 2024 ballot measures funding we created the special project for the pool. And it focused specifically on pool operations funding and coordination with key stakeholders. To improve the efficiency, the FBPC was initially divided into several subcommittees so they could focus on specific areas. These included budget, finance, public works, and then participation with all the council members and volunteers. After a short trial period, we reconvened into a single committee structure to streamline communications and reduce the workload for the city staff. The revised structure combining the subcommittee has reduced that workload for the city staff, improved meeting coordination and procedures, increased communications and opportunities for volunteer and community participation. And in our quest for continued improvement, the committees will continue to evolve. The FBPC now meets once per month on the first Thursday following the first city council meeting of the month, and special sessions when necessary. The next FBPC meeting will be held here April 9th, 2026 at 3:45 p.m. Most recently, our committee, our special pool committee had a meeting marked with the rec district, the Canyon City Area Recreational and Park Districts, and other stakeholders to discuss the future project of the pool. And the pool subcommittee has helped reestablish strong communication with the Recreation Board and the other stakeholders. Through these discussions, it was confirmed that the Recreation District does not currently have sufficient funds to construct the pool as originally designed. The design work is approximately 50% complete, and with roughly $750,000 invested in the date. Now, as a result of the committee is now exploring to reduce the rec district to reduce the size or scope of the project, or potentially pursue a revised approach that better aligns with available fundings. But there's a strong agreement among Canyon City residents that replacing the Ichabod Pool is an important community priority. At the most recent Recreation Board meeting, consensus of their board was to develop an outdoor seasonal pool and possibly extend the operating hours. They're looking at other options and additional funding opportunities that may be explored to address the current shortfall in the bond funding. However, it's important to recognize that many residents have expressed concerns about adding new taxes to support the pools. Like we always start this pool discussion is everybody in Canyon City wants a pool. So I want to play a quick video and give you a reason why Canyon City needs a pool.
Both of my children are adopted. We were on a 2-year waiting period when we got Joshua. It was 2 weeks before Christmas, and we were called and said, there's a baby. We need to go. You need to pick him up. He smiled constantly, and everybody loved him.
It was a beautiful spring, June day, and lots of people hanging out at the house and hanging out at the pool. And some of the people left to go get barbecue stuff, and other family members were getting ready to come over. And through that transition of that process, there was a time when the pool was totally empty and nobody was there. I was up in my front office, and I remember hearing Kathy say, "Have you seen Josh?" And when you hear those words about a child, your heart drops, you swallow hard, but then I started moving out of my office immediately, and then I heard her scream. And I don't know why, but I just started bolting to go downstairs to get to that backyard, and she was almost running me over, and my brother-in-law was right there too. And so all three of us got out there, and she had seen him in the backyard floating in the pool. I walked up to the pediatric ICU, and Kathy was laying in bed next to Joshua with all the tubes and everything. And the doctor walked out and met me at the door, and I said, "How's he doing, doctor?" And he said, "There's no hope."
It was a hard decision to take him off all the life support because I didn't want to let him go.
We had a fence around the pool. 95% of the time that pool is covered with an automatic cover, so nobody can even get in the water, and it's locked with a key that's 6 feet off the ground. We had a security camera that's positioned on the pool, so any TV in the house could be turned to a channel and literally look at the pool area. So we've gone through that whole process of what he's supposed to do in order to keep that area safe, but we didn't go through the process of thinking that he was going to sneak away at any given moment. I think he wandered out by the pool to fill a water gun and slipped and fell in, and at 2.5 he didn't have the skills available to swim or even grab the side of the pool, and we hadn't worked on a lot of those different aspects with him yet.
So we really try to spread the message that, we are about water safety and awareness. So it's, with whatever venues that we can get into, we just trying to get the word out.
And then I found out about Float for Life, and I realized that it really was for survival, and I just know it's so important, and you just hear stories in the news, and just like what Blake and Kathy had to go through, so I just wanted him to learn that more than anything. So
we're teaching the children to, if they fall in the water, to immediately turn over and float. As they progress through, that's step number 1. Once they're in the program more, then they learn how to kick their feet, get back to the side, climb in and out of the pool.
He was 9 months old, the very first Float for Life lesson he had, and it was very nerve-wracking to watch. But the other thing is, I knew that he was safe because the instructor was there right there with him the whole time.
When you start something early, it's just part of nature. And I think for them, that's what they know to do. They know to fall in the water. They know to float to the top. It's not without, you're seeing the end result here. At the beginning, there's a lot of crying.
I about cried the first time. It was very hard to actually put your kid that's screaming into somebody else's hands in the beginning because he didn't want to go, but I kept telling myself that it's better than him drowning, and it's kind of like getting shots and things like that. It's something they have to do for their well-being, and he quickly got over that, but it was a little difficult in the beginning. But
we all know as parents and as instructors that there's an end result, and it's floating, it's being safe, it's making sure that they have a few extra seconds that they wouldn't else have other time. They don't panic, and we've given that time. So
swimming and learning how to float is definitely something that is not an optional thing. It's not like going to dance class or taking piano. It's definitely a life skill that I think is very important. So if something does happen, they can stay alive for you.
We really need to start the process of educating kids, just like we do when we say, look both ways before crossing the street, don't touch that stove, it's hot, don't talk to strangers. We give those messages day after day as soon as they can understand them, we start giving them those messages. And we need to do that with water.
I feel very fortunate that Lincoln has this program and that we're able to put Vincent in there, and I just hope more and more parents put their kids in lessons like these because I know how important it is.
I think the very first lesson when he came here, he really didn't know what he was doing and crying as soon as he got into the water. And And I think to go from that to today, where when he falls into the water, he basically pops up and knows what to do and is able to keep his head up and float, I think is very remarkable.
We hope through education in two different ways. One physically, with infant and toddler classes that teach children how to hold their breath and reach for the side of the pool, and also through education. And the educational part, hopefully using a character like an otter that will teach kids that they don't go around water unless they're with an adult.
They just light up when they are in the book reads, and we have a large book that we bring out. It's like a 4-foot size book, and do book reads for kindergartens and first grade classes and daycares, and the kids really connect. It's just getting the children to be involved in the book, and they really love it.
I hope that through the foundation and what we're doing in the education side of it, that we're going to save a few Joshuas out there. And in Joshua's name, that other families can avoid having something like this happen to them.
All right, not a dry eye in the house, but that explains why we need a pool. And I'd like to introduce David Little, our lead. We're honored to have him. He's done a great job in exploring the issue of the operations and maintenance of the pool. So they've done a lot of hard work with the whole team. So, David?
Before you start, David, I want to just give a heads up for Beth Gavney and Beth Ketchmer. You will get a chance to speak to this issue as well. So, David?
Well, it's very hard following that video. But anyway, I'll give it a try. Council members and mayor, good evening. My name is Dave Little. I'm representing the subcommittee for the pool, your subcommittee for the pool, and what we've given you. I'm going to give you a quick overview of what we've looked at and what our conclusions are, and we'll have a couple of recommendations towards the end for you to consider. And I'm going to see if this technology works here. Since yours is not working, maybe this won't work. Oh, look at that. So these are the people that are on the subcommittee, the pool subcommittee. They all worked extremely hard, spent a lot of their private time, weekend time, working on the different issues that we were looking at, trying to figure out how we can shorten the distance between the budget deficit that we have for O&M. See if we can find more money for the O&M part of this pool. It was amazing that the amount of hours that they put in doing that. So I think that you guys were well served by appointing these people to this committee. I'd also like to call out a special thank you to these three, Ryan Stevens and Tammy Nordyke and Kyle Holm. These professionals, without these professionals, we would not have been successful in fulfilling the task that you gave us. They answered my phone on weekends and in the evenings, were very patient with our stupid questions, and it was amazing how much effort that they put into helping us be successful. So they deserve your thanks. So the basic question that you asked us to answer was, is there a reasonable possibility that we can find the funds to fund the O&M costs for the pool so that the pool can move forward? That's basically the question that you asked us. So a little bit of history. There were three, and I unfortunately can't see the screen, so I have to look at my notes here. There were three initiatives put in front of the voters for the pool in 2024. Two of them passed, one did not pass. The two that passed enabled the rec district to bond for the pool and also to pay for those bonds. The one that did not pass was the one that would have funded the O&M. So in 2025, again, the voters were asked to fund the O&M for the pool, and again, they rejected that request. So that puts us in this position. We have a projected annual revenue of $468,000 to $532,000 from the pool complex that was proposed, roughly $500,000. The annual pool O&M costs were about $1 million, so we had a deficit of roughly $500,000. So that was our task, is to come up with $500,000 of additional revenue that we could fund the O&M so that the pool could move forward. We looked at numerous options. These are the 6 that came to the forefront that we thought would be the most probable. One was to look at utilities donating costs. The cost for electricity and for gas was quite high for the project, so we were hoping that the utilities would donate some. Fremont County, the Rec District, and Canyon City, we were going to talk to all 3 of those and figure out what they are willing to commit on an annual basis to fund the O&M. Marijuana tax, approving the sale of recreational marijuana in the city and taxing it. What value does that have, and can it help offset the O&M deficit? And then revenues from parking lots. The city has parking lots. What kind of revenue stream can be generated from the parking lots? So the results of our analysis so far is we talked to the utilities about donating costs, and we got a hard no. Doesn't surprise us. It kind of disappointed us because of the community nature of this pool, but that was their response. In the past, Fremont County and the Canyon City have committed $20,000 of the Conservation Trust Fund dollars to work with the pool. We haven't verified yet that they're still willing to do that. We hope they are, we think they are, but we're going to follow through with that. We're also going to ask Fremont County if they're willing to step up for an additional amount that they would be willing to put towards the O&M of the pool. And they are tasks that we still have to do. The Rec District previously spent about $50,000 a year on the Ickabone pool, and they're willing to dedicate that $50,000 to this effort. And also the $20,000 of their Conservation Trust Fund money they're willing to dedicate to this effort. So we're starting to make some dents into the amount of money that we need. Recreational marijuana, I think you have a document on your desk from Tasha Aubrey. Tasha, would you please stand up? I know you don't want to do that, but Tasha did all the research on the recreational marijuana, and she worked with Jerry too, and just to see what we could get out of that. There's a couple other questions that we could research, and that's one of the things we're going to ask you a little later in this presentation. But the bottom line is, unless City Council is willing to put in numerous locations for the sale of recreational marijuana, it's not going to make sense from a cost standpoint of managing the program and how much revenue would be produced from, say, one site. So that's basically and there's a bunch of other issues, but Tasha has done a tremendous job highlighting those in her piece, so I'll allow you to read that. And then if you have any questions, you can always call Tasha about the questions. And then paid parking for city lots. That was the golden egg. The estimates from staff are from $300,000 to $800,000 per year of revenue that could be developed from paid parking in city lots. So the results are we have about $500,000 deficit for O&M, and we have anywhere from $410,000 to $910,000 of potential new revenue to meet that deficit. So the basic question that you asked us, is it feasible? Our answer is yes. It is feasible that we can meet that O&M need and move forward with the pool. There was a discussion here a little bit earlier about what pool. We looked at the pool that was approved by the voters, and all these numbers are related to that pool. What the Rec District eventually does to the pool is something that we'll have to wait and see in the future. So these are our 3 recommendations. Well, actually, it's 2 recommendations and 1 question. Continue to collect the 0.3% sales and use tax, because we do have a light at the end of the tunnel. Have staff put the final touches on all the designs and a plan to develop revenues out of the city parking lots and bring it to the city council for approval, because that's important. And then, does the city council want us to look at more on the recreational marijuana issue? There are a couple other things we can review and research. May not necessarily be what you want us to do, but we will do that if that's of interest to you and see if there's something there. Questions?
Thank you, David. Great job. Great job for the team. And we'll take more of this up when we meet Thursday, get everything in more detail on Thursday. Did we include the page? Would you mind going over that?
Oh, sure, I'm happy to.
For parking.
There's a half-page memo in the packet that provides just a little bit more detail on the paid parking, along with a suggested what direction could be given if the will of council is to direct the city administrator to create a formal proposal for council's consideration. Essentially, just the paid parking program was something that had been raised by a member of another committee, as well as a couple of city staff members, as an idea of this is a city resource and asset that is not currently being monetized. The thought was to primarily look at parking locations that are primarily used by tourists, given how frequently, or I guess how common the expectation is when you visit tourist attractions that parking will be paid. That's something that a lot of members of the committee and members of the public who visited or who shared their opinions with the committee reflected upon. So the recommendation was intended to create a sustainable funding source utilizing current city assets and without additional tax measures to support the ongoing operations and maintenance of the pool. I'm happy to make the suggested motion, but we may wish to hear the public comments first.
Okay, I do have three members who want to address the pool issue and including parking meters. I heard something, but let's go with Beth Gaffney first, if you would come up, please. Greetings. Thank you for coming.
Thanks for having me.
If you drop that mic down a little closer to you, that would be great.
I will. Thank you. First of all, thank you all for your time and your energy. Being on council can sometimes be a thankless job, so I appreciate everything that you do. I'm here to support the approval of operational funds for the pool. I loved the video. It's not just about amenities or recreation or fun in the pool. Those are all great things. But it is about saving our young citizens' lives. The first pool initiative, when the pool initiative in that third one that didn't pass happened, I wanted to speak directly with Dr. Rudy Ickebone, after whom our pool was named. He is in his 90s and very bright and articulate, and he did write a letter to the Recreation Board. I have that, and I'm happy to share that with you. But in the interest of time, I just wanted to share a brief snippet about what that letter was about. So in the early 60s, over several years, Dr. Ickebone had just moved to town, and there were multiple Canyon City kids drowning in our river. We live in a town that a river runs right through it. We have irrigation ditches. We have retention ponds. We have all of that. It's not just about having a pool in your backyard, which I get that. But there's water everywhere. And our kids, if they don't know how to swim, this history of the 1960s will repeat itself. Dr. Ickebone wondered why these drownings happened, and he discovered that there had been no public pool in Canyon City for 9 years. No place for our kids to learn how to swim. And so for 9 years, our children had no swimming skills, but they wanted to be in the water. Long story short, Dr. Icabone and other community members and the community at large, because this was a tragedy, a tragic situation and an ongoing situation. They set up the initiative to build the now old Icabone pool. That's why the Recreation District was initially designed to have the pool so that they could offer kids swimming lessons. In the first 2 years, over 500 children took swimming lessons. I can't imagine the number of lives that saved. So I'm thankful for the video, and I'm hoping that we're applying that also to the bodies of water where we live. I know that part of your goal and part of our city's goal in general is to provide a safe environment for our citizens. This is an opportunity to keep the history from repeating itself. And I hope that the council will present this opportunity even to Mr. Stevens. So even if none of those options materialize that Mr. Little just presented, I wanted to say that perhaps Mr. Stevens, knowing that he would have 2 years before the pool would actually be in operation, that maybe he could look at the general budget, or he could go to each of his department heads and he could say, look, guys, I want you to spend $99.40 on your budget, whatever you need to, $99.40. I want you to set 60 cents aside, 60 cents out of every $100 to save kids' lives. That's all it takes from the budget we currently have. We need to think about that. I do appreciate your time, and I hope that you will seriously consider voting to support the operations funding for the pool. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth.
Thank you. Just a reminder, we do not need to vote on that today. Thank you.
Okay, the next Beth Ketchmer.
We're like an act. We follow each other around and talk. Hi, I'm Beth Ketchmar, and I just wanted to reiterate the thing that I think is you guys are all very aware of, but a lot of people are not aware of, that when we voted in the funding for the 0.3% sales tax that we've been collecting since January, everybody agreed on the pool they wanted and that to be funded, and that funding is being collected. And all we're looking at is the operations, and I think we have some very, very feasible ideas of how we can raise the operating costs. And as far as, whether the budget is going to be for the pool that you can always you can sharpen your pencil, and you can look at sharpening your operation costs and sharpening the design of the pool, and maybe it doesn't need to be as, elaborate as we had originally said, but I think that we're this far, we're this close to getting a pool. And it's important to get a pool. I was just talking to my daughter yesterday. She was up in Chinook, Montana, which is 20 miles south of the Canadian border, has a population of 1,185 people, and they have a municipal swimming pool with swimming lanes, a slide, and all that thing. And Glasgow, which is the most isolated community in the country, is up in Montana, and they have a swimming pool. I think that we owe it to our community and to ourselves to have a swimming pool in this community. It's a very, very important asset in many, many ways. Thank you.
Thank you, Beth. And also Kelly, because we were talking about, there you are. If you want to, yep. Kelly Pascal Gould.
Hi, everyone. I have a few
Greetings.
questions about parking, and I think maybe you may have, Fred, you may have said this is going to happen on Thursday. More information on research and details on where you came up with the figures and all of that. Is that a public meeting, or what's the scoop on that?
It is a public meeting, yes.
Okay.
It'll be right here at 3:45.
Okay, and are you thinking, when you're thinking about the meters, are you thinking just lots, or is it going to apply to downtown where locals go? Or is that unknown yet?
Yeah, that's still an unknown. That's why
Okay.
Amy had brought up the motion for Ryan to start that process.
Okay, okay. I'll attend on Thursday and learn more then. Okay, thank you.
Thank you, Kelly. Okay, I will entertain a motion if that's what we need to do, or that's directing the administrator.
May I make a motion?
Yes, you may.
Why, thank you. I would move that we direct the city administrator to create a formal proposal for council's consideration by June 1st for implementing paid parking at select city-owned public parking locations. This should include site selection, pricing structure, technology options, and implementation timelines.
Second.
Okay. Moved by Councilman Schmischer and seconded by Kathy. Is there any discussion on the motion? All those in favor say aye.
Roll call.
Aye.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Okay, sorry about that.
Aye.
Councilmember Maloney?
Aye.
Councilmember Reeves?
Aye.
Councilmember Tony?
Aye.
Councilmember Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smisher?
Aye.
Okay, the motion passed. I'm going to interrupt our schedule right now and have the police chief come up, because we've got a bunch of people from ROTC, and I hate to have you sitting here with all that's going on, because I think it's going to take us a little longer to work through those committee reports. So Chief Schick, if you would deal with the ROTC issue, then we'll go back again to the committee reports.
My pleasure, Mr. Mayor. Mr. Mayor, members of City Council, thank you for allowing us some time this evening to recognize local talent and their achievements. If I could ask the recipients of tonight's recognition to come up here and join me: Georgia Hale, Jaron Mata, Connor Owens, Gabe England, and team coach, retired Sergeant First Class Damon Grimshaw. Thank you, guys. A community invests in and rewards and recognizes young citizens in times of success or need is more likely to benefit from their contributions later in life. In so doing, young citizens recognize the character of their community, and later they may stay or return to their hometown, offering a significant return on investment. In this rationale, that inspires the PD to engage and connect with its young citizens through programs such as our school resource officers, our annual Summer Junior Police Academy, and Shop with a Cop. In this light, this evening, the CCPD wants to recognize the dedication and hard work and to congratulate our local Army Junior Recruit Officer Training Course students' rifle team on not only their state championship, but also their current ranking of 7th in the nation.
Wow.
Yes. These are both very significant outcomes, considering we have over 3,500 programs in the nation. Congratulations to each of you on a job very well done.
Stay put, because we're going to get a photograph with you with the council members. Council members, we can go on down.
Okay, ready?
You're next up. Thank you all for coming and supporting them as well. Okay, we're back at it, and the next on the agenda is we're going to have a report from Public Safety and Quality of Life.
Hey, let me finish the.
Are you not done yet?
No, I'm not done.
Okay.
I'm just starting. Everybody go grab a snack. No, I want to, the Public Works update of our section. Engineer Leo Evans, our Public Works Director, is back there. There was a lot of questions about potholes, and to address that in the meeting, we have a website, C-Click-Fix-It, or C-Click-Fix, that you can go to ask questions or report street repairs and such. One other thing that we were discussing was the development of planned city sidewalk repair. And then one of the main things that came up is Leo Evans received guidance, we all have, from our attorneys regarding the court case on the 14th Street lateral and an overall opinion on the stormwater and the irrigation ditches, and that's been presented to council. The recommendation was for the city to approve the court cost for those residents, and it'll be taken up again on Thursday, April 9th at 3:45 at our meeting. They continue the water service line identification effort as well. Then on the finance update, we'll be talking about some issues that we've had. Some of the tourism is being impacted. We can expect possibly a 30% down in tourism between the gas prices, the flight issues we've had. We've seen some significant downsizing from people's budgets, so we'll be delving deeper into that in the next meetings. So a bit of a yellow alert when January actuals came in. It's a little bit lower, but we want to plan for that. We want to be cautious. So our city administrator, Ryan Stevens, he's initiated potential reductions in the 2026 capital budget and some discretionary spending. So he'll be looking into that just as a precaution. The other piece is Travis is here today, our water director, and we've had some meetings. He was able to meet with the water commissioner. We were in our last water meeting. Did you want to present anything today, Travis, or are you going to wait till?
That's specifically on the agenda later on.
Okay, good. Thanks. Okay, let's move on.
Okay, thank you very much. Mayor Pro Tem Schmischer.
No worries at all. So just a couple of updates from the Public Safety and Quality of Life Committee. Our regular committee meeting will be this Wednesday from 4 to 5 p.m. It is a public meeting. Everyone is very welcome to come. The primary topics for discussion at this upcoming meeting are we have received multiple concerns from local residents about the 9th Street project. So we'll have an opportunity for an update from the Director of Public Works, Leo Evans, and also an opportunity for public dialogue around that and how that project is going. We've also had a few residents ask for a conversation about pedestrian and biker safety on Skyline. A lot of folks like to go in the opposite direction up Skyline Drive and are concerned about the speed of cars. So we'll be having a conversation with Police Chief Schick and those residents on Wednesday. And then also an idea that Police Chief Schick raised through the Homelessness Solutions Working Group a while ago is the idea of putting up signage about how to donate to local nonprofits that work on homelessness-related issues rather than providing donations directly to individuals. So we'll be talking about all three of those topics on Wednesday. A couple of updates on things that the group has done since the last meeting. There is a separate 501c3 library foundation that is interested in putting in a playground at Macon Plaza to help enhance story time. And in the summer, there's the school food truck comes there, and they'd like to provide more amenities for families related to library activity, but to have more things for folks to do there, and particularly to activate that plaza a bit more. So that Library Foundation is looking at potentially giving part of the funding for that playground. So city staff are looking into options for that. And then we also have been doing quite a bit of work with the contractor on Western Gateway Plaza, which is the former Black Hills site. Shout out to city planner Patrick Mulready for leading that effort on the staff side. The last public open house on that project will be in May, so I'll provide more details about location and everything like that in the next council meeting. But at that meeting, it'll be the final kind of preferred site strategy based on all of the public input that's come in online and at all of the previous public open houses. Part of that project is also what to do with the former Parks building in Centennial Park and the area around it. And there's pretty broad consensus amongst the stakeholder group that's been meeting on a monthly basis that we really need to focus on what are things that teens and tweens in our community want to do. So the principal at Canyon City Middle School and the principal at Canyon City High School have both agreed to send out a short survey with a couple of options and ideas about what would they like to see go into those spaces. So we're really excited about that. And the preferred plan and way forward for that building will also be presented at that public open house in May. And the contract on that doesn't end until June. This last open house is still part of the dialogue. They definitely want to hear from the public about, did they get it right? Did they not get it right? What tweaks are needed? So really looking forward to that. And then on a separate note, Kathy Worthington and I have the pleasure of serving as the council representative.
I want to do that after the Economic Development Committee,
Oh,
if that's okay.
Okay, sure, happy to.
Okay, thank you. Amy is making reference. You want to be called Kathy, she wants to be called council member, so.
Oh, I don't mind
Okay.
what you call me, sir.
Okay, sounds good. It's going to be Amy then. So after I talk about the Economic Development Committee report, we're going to have an update from Amy about the bridge contract. And so that's what she's almost ready to do. So the Economic Development Committee met today at 4 o'clock, and we've been dealing with a number of things. One is that Leslie Lamone, who's a local architect here, has some concerns about our policy dealing with foundations and specifically soil testing. And so he met with the Economic Development Committee today and made a presentation, and he's asking for a change in the ordinance dealing with that, specifically anything less than 350 square feet or less, that we would make a possible change. And there was some discussion about the ordinance, if we change that, if it kicks us into an energy committee or energy update that happened in 2023 from the state of Colorado. And so where we left that is that we're going to be asking for an opinion from the attorney about that particular issue. If we make some changes, does that kick us into some energy costs that would be then cost consumers more when they're building their houses, et cetera. So I have those documents that we're going to be presenting to him and specifically to the attorneys and going from there. We've had a number of discussion points, now 3 meetings dealing with the building department. Behind this is the issue of making Canyon City a great place to do business. And so it's not specifically limited in our discussion to the building department, but that has been a focus that we've been dealing with. And so we've had 3 different meetings. We've had a presentation from the Southern Colorado Building Department. I'll explain that just briefly in just a moment. Present at that was the building official from there, as well as the mayor of Pueblo. And please know this is not Pueblo's building department, it's Southern Colorado Building Department. And currently they have Boone, and just recently one of the communities in our area joined as well, Rockwell. Rockvale, thank you. Rockvale joined, and also Williamsburg is taking a look at it, and I believe Howard is as well. And so what we're looking at doing is, based on a motion that came out of the committee today, is to enter into negotiations with Southern Colorado Building Department and to come up with the plan as far as what that looks like. In coordination with that will be the city administrator putting together an internal plan so we can compare apples to apples. And we've had communication now with the county commission, and at one time they were not interested. They'd given us the indication they're not interested in looking at a regional department based in Fremont County. But at this point, they have communicated with us that they are interested in at least having an initial meeting to make that discussion. And they're interested in having that on May 12th. So that's a ways away. So what I think is going to take place now is we enter into negotiations with Southern Colorado Building Department. We find what that looks like. We take a look at internally as far as what we can do to get to a positive pro-business kind of agenda as well. And there may be a hybrid that is possible there as well. And then specifically, we'll also entertain a discussion with the county. And that'll give the council 3 different options that they can look at. And again, the goal is to make Canyon City a great place to do business. We have a challenging reputation. We need to acknowledge that. And I think we're on a track for changing that and at least addressing it. So I'm pleased Commissioner Tony, Councilmember Tony, had talked about early on about the committees, and we've had a lot of input from various people who are citizens who have volunteered their time to be present and to participate in that. And 2 of them went over with me a week ago today and looked at the Southern Colorado Building Department, came back with their own thought process about that and presented that to the committee. And I think that was very useful for the committee to make a decision. So we had a 4-0 vote. The mayor gets to vote in committee structure to move forward with that. And that will be presented officially to the council because the committee doesn't make the decision, the council does. And so that'll be presented to the council at its second meeting in April to have that discussion. The council can take it up in discussion and choose to move forward with that recommendation or choose not to move forward with that recommendation.
Excuse me one second. Did you say that they're coming to talk with council or just the board or the people from this? From your
The committee made a recommendation to the council to ask us to enter into negotiations with Southern Colorado Building Department. That will be put on the next agenda, and that agenda item will be taken up among the council members, and the council decides.
Is Southern Colorado going to be here to answer any questions from any of us that
If
have
you're
zero
interested in
part
doing
in it?
that, we can make that happen.
I think that would be very important that we're all on the knowledge.
Once
of
again,
that.
this is not to make a decision. This is enter into negotiations. So
I understand that, but I'm just saying it'll give us a chance for all of us to kind of hear where they're at. Just
Yeah.
my 2 cents worth. Thank you.
I understand, and I appreciate your 2 cents, and you're welcome to put in 3 or 4 if you'd like. But what we don't know is we don't want to have a public negotiation with them at this point. It needs to be something where the administrator, I think, is involved, and we're having those discussions, and then a formal proposal comes back to the city council.
Okay, yeah, I'm not talking about it, I just would like to hear from them, get there. A few people on council are hearing it. I'd like to have all of us get to hear it, and all of us get to hear it before just a few of us come and a few council people tell us what. No, I think as council, we were voted in by everybody within our community, and I don't think that they want us going in without, I'm just saying for more knowledge. I don't want to be hearing it from another council person. I'd like to hear it directly from the source. I'm not saying to vote on it or anything. I would just like to hear it.
Again, we can make that happen, Tim. There's no problem with that. I just don't want, again, any kind of negotiations in that process. So, okay. That's the update from Economic Development Committee. And next up is the bridge contract. Amy.
Sure. So Councilmember Worthington and I had the pleasure of being selected by the previous council to serve as the 2 council representatives on the bridge contract negotiations. So it's obviously a hugely important contract for the city budget, and for the people of Canyon City. It's a city-owned asset, which means that it's owned by all of us. We are currently in active negotiations on that contract, and it is really notable that it hasn't been renegotiated in over 60 years. So given that we're taking a very deliberative approach to ensure that the details are done correctly, we've completed a couple of rounds of revisions back and forth with the contracting company, and it's currently with the selected operating company for review. Our focus will continue to remain on getting this right for the long term, so there's no real need to rush the process. There are a couple of things that we need to do internally in terms of reviews of current assets that are out there that have to be done alongside this contract negotiation. There is a definitive timeline that is public. The current contract does expire at the end of October of this year, so we still have quite a few months, but our goal is certainly to have it done well before that time frame, so that there can be a smooth and orderly transition. Thanks.
Okay. Is there a need for transition concerns? There's 7 months until October 31st, I believe, and there's 40 employees out there. I'm just wondering what is the time frame that needs to be done to make sure there's an orderly transition?
My best estimate would be summer, that there needs to be at least, I would say, 3 or 4 months before the end of the contract that you would want to have a new contract in place. But again, anything that goes on before November 1st is the responsibility of the current operator, because that is when that lease term is through.
Okay. Anyone else? Yes, sir. You're going to fill out a form, Bob, but you can do that afterwards. So.
I will fill out a form. This is difficult. I'm Bob Stovall. I am the board chair of the Royal Gorge Chamber Alliance, but I'm not speaking on behalf of the board now. We haven't had an opportunity to review this and have a discussion about it at this point. Some of us are aware of what's going on, and when I learned that this contract hasn't already been concluded, I got to tell you, I was gobsmacked. You think you can get this done? You think if you get it done in June, July, that'll give them plenty of time to make a transition? I don't think so. My understanding is that, well, let me go back to a little history, because we're really going to talk about an opportunity here, an opportunity for the city to show that it really is business friendly, that it understands business and it understands business's constraints, and it's willing to move forward to support a very important business. Would you all please look behind you for just a minute, please? Up on the wall. Yeah, what does your city seal represent? It has the bridge on it, right? Now, my understanding, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, well, you've had a pretty rough year, actually. You got 3 major attractions here. You got the bridge, you got the railroad, and you got the rafting. And over the past few months, you kind of made all of them mad, so let's see if we can fix that, shall we? You got an opportunity to fix it, and you got a wonderful opportunity to fix it. Now, my understanding was the RFP was put out in May or June. My understanding is that you got 3 or 4 responses. 2 of them were credible. One from the existing operator, and one from a group that is represented by folks that were associated with the existing operator. Now, again, I'm operating off of sort of incomplete information. I haven't been privy to all the discussions, but from what I understood, you were supposed to get a contract done in 120 days after acceptance. Now, that may or may not be right, but acceptance, you picked a bidder sometime around September. If I count 120 days, I'm going by you. Okay, I'll let you respond. Let's say it's October. When did you pick a bidder? Answer that question, please.
I would defer to our attorney, but a bidder has not been, like, the 120-day clock is not relevant in the time period that we are in right now, Mr.
When does the 120-day clock begin?
I'm probably the wrong person to answer the question because my law partner is the one that's been doing the negotiations, but I would guess that it is after we have completed the negotiations with the apparent lowest responsible and responsive bidder.
That's not my understanding. That's not what I've heard from, and I will let you know I have talked to the responsive bidder. I know them. Their understanding is it was supposed to be done 120 days after they were selected to reach a contract.
They haven't been selected, Bob.
Well, who else are you going to select?
Only council can make that selection. It hasn't come to council for selection yet.
Are you
So,
negotiating with anybody else?
I am more than happy to talk to you about this offline. I don't think that this is an appropriate conversation to have as part of a public meeting.
Well, I'm not so sure. Mr. Mayor, you're the one that was planning to bring this up. I think it is a public meeting.
I've stated numerous times to the city administrator that I was going to be asking questions on how the contract is going because of the importance to this community. It is absolutely vital that this community gets this thing done, and I disagree, Commissioner or Council Member, that we have until June or July to get this thing done. Citizens, people at the bridge are very concerned about where this is going, and I think we need to nail it down. And so we've had communications ourselves internally that this thing needs to be done, and I think there is some urgency. And I too have had, only on the process side, communication with the other side, and they're concerned that this is not happening quick enough. And so that is something that we need to move along. And so as the mayor and as citizens, I think it is imperative that we get this thing wrapped up, they get it before the council, and the council gets a chance to vote on it, and that gives a transition time that can take place out there.
I'm going to put my 2 cents in
Sure.
right now. This is a 25-year contract. This contract has not been renewed since 1960-something or other. It's kind of like the pool. And the thing is that we were elected to protect the city and its citizens, and this is a city property. We are hiring, in a sense, a contractor to run this facility for at least 25 years with opportunities to move it forward beyond that. When you're looking at the process of where the structures that are out there and the money that is potentially given to this city in revenue from the bridge, and trying to make the best deal and make sure that we are not frankly, leaving anything on the table that could be detrimental to the city, I think it's very important to make sure that we do it right and in a very positive, directive manner. And that is what I think we are doing.
That's what I'm asking you to do. I have visited with, now, by the way, I'm wearing a Royal Gorge Bridge hat. I'm wearing a Royal Gorge Bridge shirt. Now, the reason I've got these two items is I received them from the company that was managing the bridge at the time, involved with it in the 75th anniversary. My wife and I were hired to help the bridge with its grand reopening in 2015 by the folks that are the current bidders, the only people with whom you're negotiating right now. That bridge wouldn't be there if they hadn't been there back then. They had the foresight to buy insurance that allowed them to go in and rebuild the facilities at the bridge in between 2013 after the fire and 2015. They had the wherewithal, the wisdom to buy the insurance to rebuild the entire park, essentially, and make it what it is today. You know they're a qualified bidder. They've run the park for 10 years. They've been there for 10 years. You know they're a qualified bidder. This is an opportunity, folks. This is an opportunity to show them that you're friendly with business. This is an opportunity for you to respond to them promptly, to get these negotiations underway. It's going to take you, I can promise you, it's going to take more than 3 months to make a transition, because they have to buy the property to work with. They have to buy the personal property to work with up there. They have to get their financing, but more important, they have to have their partners in place, and they're not very patient right now. They're not willing to wait till June or July to get a contract in place.
We're not
This
waiting.
is an easy task for you to do.
We're not waiting. We're not waiting until June or July, Bob. We are in very, very frequent communication with them. We have gone back and forth multiple times. It's a very long,
I know, and
complicated,
not always timely.
It is.
From their perspective.
We've waited for weeks for responses from them. So we are working diligently. We are ensuring that the deal is a good deal for Canyon City, and it is a very complicated contract. So please hear me. Like, we want to get this done well. We want to be good partners with them. We are communicating with them, but I will not go into the details of those
I
negotiations.
don't want to be in the details of negotiation. I want to see
We
the contract done.
appreciate your comment, Bob, and I know that it's hard to trust us, because I'm sure that it's a situation you're in that's a little different than where you are, but I will tell you, we are working very diligently. Every time we get a contract back to us, we meet that week. And unfortunately, that is not what is happening all the time on the other side. And so we are trying to work as quickly as we can, and we do want to get this done also because we do recognize we need to take an inventory of what's there now, what is theirs as far as the existing people, as far as their personal property, and make sure that the new people coming in have what they need to be successful.
Well, I think you need to have a good discussion with them, and you need to find out what their time frame is. As far as the timing of responses, I'm hearing different stories, but I'm not in on that. I can't answer that, and I can't be factual on that. What I do know is that they're very concerned, and there's no promise that they're going to be around to negotiate with you over the next 2 or 3 months. I think this is really a pretty easy task. Get it done, be responsive. If you're that close, get it done. Get that contract in place, and you deal with all of the other things you've got on your agenda here. But it's a concern, and I know it's a concern, and I've had conversations with them, and if they decide that, and I hope they don't, I hope they don't. I talked to them today, and they were hopeful we could get it done within the next couple of weeks.
Well, it's currently with them, so hopefully we'll get it back soon.
Well, please do, because I don't want to see another couple of years without the bridge of revenue like we did from 13 to 15. And I think you have a responsibility to really push this on your side and be responsive and get it in place, because you need to keep them in there interested. And I'm not sure how long they're willing to wait. So I appreciate your working on it. It's very important. And please proceed.
Okay. Any other discussion? Okay. Hearing none, thank you for that update. We are dealing with Child Abuse Prevention Month proclamation. So the Fremont County Department of Human Services, Director Tanya Sutton, and the Child Welfare Supervisor Jackie Wilner. And I hope I got your names right.
You did. Thank you very, very much. We are very happy to be here today to and for your guys' ability to allow us to kind of present what this month is about. So, again, good evening. Thank you for letting us share this proclamation today. So my name is Jackie Wilner, and I am the FAR Intake Supervisor for Fremont County DHS. And this is Tanya Sutton. She's the Director of the Department of Human Services in Fremont County. Us, along with many other supervisors and many other workers, we work diligently with our families in their times of need. We have so many opportunities daily to be able to work with families to meet them where they are at. When possible, prevention and preventative services can benefit children and families and help decrease the need for a crisis response, which is what it's about, right? When we are able to work together with our communities and invest in our children, our families, we invest in brighter outcomes, strengthen communities for those we serve, and our community as a whole. Families who receive support before a crisis occurs are better equipped to provide safer, healthier, and nurturing environments leading to safer and healthier children, again, which is what it's about. This can reduce the likelihood of abuse and neglect and create strong foundations for lifelong well-being. We must remember, whether we are serving a family through prevention or through crisis response, there is always an opportunity for hope, growth, change, and healing for our children and our families. Please join us in Wear Blue Wednesdays throughout the entire month of April. I actually have a couple flyers as well here, but we have a Wear Blue Wednesday flyer. So we are encouraging different community members around the county to tag themselves and their team for Pinwheels for Prevention, Pinwheels for Fremont County, so that way we can see everybody celebrating and wearing blue. We appreciate the city and the work that we've done on the committee that we have been able to serve on, and I think you guys were able to light the bridge up blue, so that was fantastic, but thank you guys very much.
Okay.
Hey, I want to say thank you, because that is such an important thing. I mean, anything with a child, as far as a child goes. So I think what you guys do is fantastic, and I just want to say thank you. I think there's a lot of us up here, I think all of us up here, just know the importance of bringing child abuse and that awareness. And I just want to say thank you. Thank you for your time on that.
Absolutely. Thank you guys for your time as well.
Yep. So let me read part of the proclamation if I can, and then we will take a photograph with you folks down there. So whereas child abuse and neglect is a serious problem affecting every segment of our community, children are key to Fremont County's future success. They are our future leaders, neighbors, and employees, and will shape the future of Colorado. Now, therefore, let it be proclaimed by Canyon City Mayor Phil Lund that April 26 is designated as Child Abuse Prevention and Awareness Month, and in so doing, urge all citizens to join in a national effort to raise awareness about the importance of preventing child abuse. And I'd ask the council members to go on down, and we'll take a photograph again. Okay, next up is Telecommunications Week, which is April 12th through the 18th, 2026, and Chief Schick and any public safety telecommunication people.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, members of council. Yeah, it is a special time for them starting next week. They are the backbone of our service that we offer to Fremont County and Canyon City. They answer in excess of 100,000 calls a year for this area. They not only work law enforcement, they work fire, they work AMR, and their bandwidth is stretched very thin, but they are always there, always ready, and I can't say enough about all the men and women up there in FreeCom that keep us safe, keep us guided, keep us focused. So I can't say enough about them. They're a remarkable bunch of individuals up there.
Thank you very much. And I've got another proclamation to read on that one. Whereas the Combined Regional Communications Authority emergency telecommunications officers are the first responders answering the emergency telephone call, providing life-saving pre-arrival instructions, telephonic CPR, triage, de-escalation, and the calm presence on the telephone and radio that is focused on both public and responders' safety. Now therefore, I, Phil Lund, Mayor of the City of Canyon City, do hereby proclaim April 12th through the 18th, 2026 as Colorado Public Safety Telecommunications Week in the City of Canyon City, Colorado, in support of the state of Colorado in the recognition of emergency telecommunications officers as first responders, and as such declare the emergency telecommunications officers of the Combined Regional Communications Authority are recognized as first responders serving our community. And again, we would like to take another photograph. So,
We don't have anybody from FreeCom
okay, so we
here
don't
this
do that.
evening.
And you don't want to do that either?
I can absolutely. I'd
Let's
be
get a
happy
photograph
to.
with the chief holding up the resolution.
Yes, it's important.
I am the least photogenic person that I know, and they didn't warn us before we took this job that we would be doing this much. So next up is the consent agenda, and the finance director, I think, is going to review the agenda and the consent agenda items. Tammy?
Getting there. Before you, on the consent agenda, we have item 8A, approve the minutes for the regular city council meeting, March 16th, 2026, and the special meeting, March 19th, 2026. Item 8B, authorize the mayor to sign a water service agreement for 1232 County Road 143. 8C, authorize the mayor to sign a water service agreement for 369 Columbine Ave. 8D, authorize the mayor to sign a water service agreement for 763 County Road 143. Item 8E, authorize the city administrator to sign an intergovernmental agreement with the Colorado Department of Transportation, contract number 27324 for the 13th Street Safe Routes to School. Item 8F, authorize the city administrator to sign an intergovernmental grant agreement with the Colorado Water Conservation Board for the John Griffin Park Reservoir Project. 8G, authorize the city administrator to sign a parking lot lease for 511-517 Royal Gorge Boulevard with a step back in time. 8H, award bid 28-26 for police and court roof replacement to Monument Roofing of Colorado in an amount not to exceed $78,727. 8I, award bid 30-26, vegetation management to M&S Plowing in an amount not to exceed $170,000. 8J, award bid 46-26, hypervisor licensing renewal to Insight Public Sector in an amount not to exceed $54,961.92. 8K, award bid 47-26, backup software renewal to Insight Public Sector in an amount not to exceed $10,976.88. 8L, award bid 49-26 for damaged Tahoe replacement to John Elway Chevrolet and Laws Upfitting in an amount not to exceed $68,729. 8M, authorized 2026 budgeted vehicle and equipment purchases. 8N, receive and file cash disbursements from March 17th through April 6th, 2026. And 8O, to ratify and file cash disbursements, ratifying purchases for January 31st, 2026 and March 31st, 2026. And that is the end of the consent agenda.
Thank you, Tammy. Is there any additions or corrections to this consent agenda? Yes.
Thank you. I just have a couple of comments. One, I wanted to call out 8F, the intergovernmental agreement. This is for the water conservation project at the John Griffin Park Reservoir project. I know that this has been a lot of time and effort by staff coordinating across many, many different agencies. And this is only one step in a very, very long process because it is just a feasibility study, but I think it shows a lot of innovation and creativity as we're thinking, particularly later in the agenda, about possible water shortages and how do we partner with CWCB and the state and even congressionally directed spending and the rec district to create something that's more than the sum of its parts. So just a shout out to staff on that. I also wanted to have in the record on 8G, this is the parking lot lease on 511, 517 Royal Gorge Boulevard. The memo says that there's a small profit for the owner of said lot. I do think it's important to clarify that this year that was $573. It truly is a small, almost de minimis amount of money that we are paying to lease that lot. And then lastly, one more shout out to staff on 8J, the hypervisor licensing renewal to Insight Public Sector. This is a very complicated IT tech thing that essentially allows us to have fewer servers than we otherwise would have to if we had static servers for each of our various efforts. So just appreciate them recognizing that costs are increasing significantly with that provider. They have right-sized, they have looked through to see, do we have the lowest package available? Do we have exactly the number of licenses and accounts that we need? And they're already looking into other vendors as well. So just a shout out to our IT department for going above and beyond and trying to keep costs low. Thanks.
Any other additions, corrections, or comments? Hearing none, is there a motion to?
Hold on. We had some questions emailed to us about what's the cost per parking space for this agreement on 8G?
So my understanding is that this is free parking. It is a lot that the city is leasing on Royal Gorge Boulevard. That's the one that I just mentioned. It says that there's a little bit of profit. This year's lease payment, as invoiced by the owner, was $6,373. That includes property tax and those sorts of things. The 10% profit that went to the owner, according to our economic development manager, was $573. But again, right now this is free public parking. The city just leases that lot.
Yeah, it was just someone had asked specifically what we were paying per parking space for that lease, but that answers the question.
Oh, I'm sorry.
No, you're good.
Sorry.
Yeah.
Okay, any other questions, discussion?
Fred's got one.
Hit your mic, Fred.
I'm sorry. The other question was in 8I. What city employees are responsible to make sure their work done by the companies correctly and completely? The question arises because there was a personal experience with a drainage way behind a car wash on South 9th Street and had to contact the stormwater department every year because the contractor either left a mess on the property or allowed the grate that keeps large debris from entering the pipe that goes under the highway and buildings to the northeast become plugged. to the point of blocking it and backing up water to a point that could have possibility to overflow. And I think that would go to Engineer Leo Evans for an answer for that.
Welcome, Leo.
Yep, thank you. Good evening. Management of that contract falls to our stormwater coordinator, Linda DeBecker. She does the inspections, assigns the work, and then does the follow-up inspections once the work is completed. So if there are issues with things not getting done, those can get directed directly to her, and she will follow up with the contractor, make sure they got done if we happen to miss them.
Any others? Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda?
I can make that motion to approve the consent agenda and agenda as written.
Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. Clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Reeves?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smisher?
Aye.
Okay, let's see, administrator's report, and again, back to the finance director.
In your packet, you did receive the administrator's report. There are no changes or additions to the report at this time.
Okay. Mr. Sturicka, did I miss you as far as you wanted to make some public comments on these? Thank you. I just caught it that it was off the consent agenda.
My concern on the consent agenda, and the question still wasn't answered, how much does each space cost the city in that parking, those two parking lots? You said 6,000 and something, and by the GIS map I got, there's 20 spaces there. It's an awful lot of money. Who does it benefit? Who can park there? Does somebody have an answer?
So it is public parking. So as far as I know, it is not restricted to who can park there.
Okay. And what was the, Amy, you said, what was the payment last year, the total that
Sure.
the city paid?
This year's lease payment will be $6,373.69.
Okay.
So I think if there are 20 spots there, that would work out to $305
Okay.
per spot for the year. My understanding from our economic development manager, and this is in the memo, so I'm sure you saw it, Mr. Sturicka, is that he did poll the business owners, and they do find it to be very valuable to keep people,
I
to
understand
keep
that.
parking spots free on Main Street.
The other thing was on the oversight of that. There is a distinct lack of oversight on that contract. I have personal experience for a number of years at that drainage way behind my ex-car wash, my old car wash on South 9th. And annually, I'd have to call city staff, and it was Glenda DeBecker, to make sure that that work was done correctly. And it was, until I called, in fact, one time, they sent a city crew out, an emergency crew, to clean that grate there, because the water was backing up and there was forecast for heavy rain. So I just think that needs to be more closely monitored.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. Okay, now we're going to have a public hearing, and we do have an important discussion coming up regarding the water for the city and what's happening with the snowpack. So I encourage everyone to stick around for that as we work through this. But the first reading, do I need to read through this? I will do that just to have it. So the first reading by title only, ordinance 04, series 226 of 2026, entitled An Ordinance of the City of Canyon City, amending the Title 17 of the Canyon City Municipal Code concerning public park uses and athletic field signs. And City Planner, I think you're ready to go on that.
Please open the public meeting.
So I officially open the public meeting.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor, members of council. This evening, we are here to consider Ordinance 4, Series of 2026. This is an ordinance that would amend Title 17 with respect to public park uses and athletic field signs. Currently, the city's Unified Development Code does not contain any regulations for athletic field signage. The Canyon City School District approached us to replace their existing outdoor scoreboard at the multi-use athletic field at the high school. This prompted us to understand we needed to amend our sign regulations with respect to these kinds of signs, so the proposed ordinance addresses to do this by doing the following. It creates a new category of permanent sign not subject to permit, and lists athletic field signage as a new sign type. Criteria associated with athletic field signs are then established in a new subsection 1707-050I, wherein orientation, lighting, and electronic messaging are addressed. And finally, Chapter 1713, Definitions, is amended to include a definition of athletic field signs. Now, these regulations are not being established simply for the high school. They will apply to any outdoor venue where sporting or recreational events are conducted, such as public parks, public or private schools, public or private sports complexes, etc. It also requires a minimum 200 feet separation between the athletic field sign and any residential use. And because the school district's inquiry to the city about this type of signage included electronic board messaging, this ordinance creates a pathway to allow this pursuant to the city's current regulations on EMBs. Council will recall that in 2023, the city went through a public design process to program the Clock Tower Plaza space located at the corner of 3rd Street and Main. That process has now reached the point where the city will award bids for contractors to begin construction of the space this fall. Okay. The Clock Tower Plaza space, like all of Main Street between 2nd and 9th, is zoned CB, Central Business District Commercial. Within this district, public parks are not a permitted use. Therefore, the second change that this ordinance makes is to create a new type of use, public park, under the category public and institutional uses in Chapter 1703 of the Unified Development Code. This use is then permitted in all zone districts citywide, both residential and commercial, and this obviously includes the CB Central Business District. It also creates a definition for public park in Chapter 1713 as land that is publicly owned or controlled for the purpose of providing recreation or open space for public uses, including parks, plazas, and open space, so that under that definition, Clock Tower Plaza would qualify as a public park. So in terms of recent activity on this, the proposed draft ordinance was noticed for public hearing on February 23rd, 2026. Since publication, staff has received no inquiries or comments concerning this proposed UDC amendment. Planning Commission conducted a public hearing on this item on March 25th, 2026. Following the public hearing, the Planning Commission voted unanimously to recommend Council approve this ordinance. So with that, both staff and the Planning Commission are recommending that City Council, following a public hearing on this request, approve Ordinance 4, Series of 2026 regarding athletic field signs and public parks on first reading and set second reading for April 20th, 2026. That would conclude the staff presentation. As always, I'm happy to answer any questions that Council may have.
Is there an applicant first that wishes to speak?
The
No
city,
applicant here?
the city is the applicant on this.
Is the school's not here for the sign?
I don't know if they're here or not.
Okay, very good. Council members, if you wish to address? Yes, Amy?
Thank you. Could you tell us a little bit more about the electronic message board standards?
So in electronic message boards, you are allowed a maximum of, I believe, 50 square feet for an electronic message board. These are, you will see them around the city in various locations. I believe Champion Express Car Wash has one. I believe that Jewett's Liquors has one. That's the typical size you'll see when you split that, so you've got half on either side of the sign. A question that came up during Planning Commission had to do with the signs that the Royal Gorge Route Railroad uses. Those signs are well beyond anything that our sign regulations would allow for electronic message boards, And the reason for that has to do with an act of Congress that was passed in 1887, the Interstate Commerce Act, that empowered railroads within their own right-of-way to not be subject to local government regulations as it pertained to signage. So the signs that you see there, we would not be able to permit under any circumstances within the city limits.
Thank you. That's really helpful. Could I ask 2 additional
Sure,
questions? Thank
absolutely.
you. With regard to the school, I mean, obviously the athletic sign, as you mentioned in your memo, came from that. Have we had conversations with them to ensure that this does meet the need that they have
We
with
did
regard to the
send
high
a
school
draft.
stadium?
We did send a draft of this ordinance over to the school district, specifically the high school, as well as the sign company that they are using. They found these regulations perfectly acceptable.
Wonderful. Thank you for confirming that. And then I also just wanted to flag, I guess maybe more for situational awareness, and Attorney Hoffman can confirm if I'm correct in my understanding, but the city charter, based on the amendment that the people passed, I believe it was a little over 2 years ago now, requires a public hearing before we adopt new plazas, parks, open spaces. So I believe if we define a public park in a city ordinance as including plazas and open spaces, it would just mean that we would need to have a public hearing, which is simply what we're doing right now, before we adopt any new plazas or open spaces. So that, for example, would be Clock Tower Plaza, would then require a public hearing. I don't know that I necessarily see an issue with that, but it would, I think, necessitate that action.
The language of the charter talks about the acquisition.
It says acquisition or gift. So if we have a parking lot that we are turning into a plaza.
I think it would be a council interpretation question.
Okay. But if
Certainly, there's
we-
never a downside with having the public hearing, but that's what the language in the charter says.
Okay, so if we are turning pre-existing land that we own into one, it doesn't necessarily require. But if we
Correct.
were to acquire a plaza or an open space, based on this definition, it would be a park and would therefore require a public hearing.
Precisely.
Perfect. Thank you for clarifying that.
And I don't know who you're hearing from, Councilmember Schmischer, but I'm hearing that there is concerns about the Clock Tower Plaza. And I think even if it's not required by the ordinance or by the charter, I think it would be wise for us to have a public hearing.
So glad to hear that. I think if anybody goes back and watches any of the past 3 budget hearings, they will know how I feel about Clock Tower Plaza.
So do we need to take official action to formally have a public hearing on that particular issue?
Not at this point. You may need to, I mean, that's going to be a future discussion, I suspect.
It would need to be an agenda item on a future council.
But that's something that the administrator and the mayor can put on the council? Okay, consider it, that's probably going to happen, so. Okay.
Can I make
Yes,
one
go ahead.
question, Patrick? So why are we having to do this clock tower now? It has to do with the grant and how it's tied into some timing?
So I believe we are going to be awarding bids for construction of Clock Tower Plaza sometime in May. And the legal advice that we got was it would be better to have this ordinance adopted, making this change so that parks were now permitted in the CB zone prior to when we awarded those bids.
Right. What I'm, my question would be, and maybe that's more to Tammy, is that why are we doing that now and not next year for the clock tower?
Because when the bids that we're awarding are going to be for a use that the city intends to put on a piece of ground that the city owns, and we are obliged to be observing our own zoning code when it comes to something we're going to be building. So we thought it was important that we make this amendment before those bids are opened and awarded.
Right.
So I think there are 2 different things that you're asking. Patrick is asking to have the zoning change to allow Clock Tower Plaza. I think you are asking why we need to move forward with the Clock Tower Plaza this year, and that is a totally separate issue that is not part of his public hearing.
But I think there's concern about moving forward with Clock Tower Plaza at all, is there not, as opposed to the timing of it?
This ordinance does not obligate the city to do anything regarding Clock Tower Plaza, just to be clear. All this ordinance does is authorizes, by virtue of zoning, certain actions, including the athletic fields piece, but it does not obligate the city to do anything related to Clock Tower Plaza.
If it continues to be parking without moving forward, is it then out of sync with the city's own ordinance?
No.
Okay. Any other discussion? Any members of the public want to address the council regarding this? Okay, I'm going to close the public hearing. And if anyone has a motion on adopting this, I'm open to it. Yes.
Thank you. And thanks to our planning department for pulling this together to ensure that the high school renovations were not unnecessarily delayed. I would move that we approve on ordinance number 4, series of 2026, by title on first reading and set second reading for April 20th, 2026.
Second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded on that, and clerk can call the roll.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Reeves?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Worthington? Aye. Mayor Pro Tem Smisher?
Aye.
Okay, thank you. What ordinance are we going to refer to committee? Okay. City parking lot, and that's going to go under Public Works, I would assume. So we'll refer that to committee. Yes. Go ahead. Okay. Public safety is fine as well.
And
Sorry,
we do have to vote on that.
Just for clarity's sake, this is an example where I think we got a little out of order. We actually discussed this at the last public safety meeting, had a vote on it, and then learned that we need council to refer it to the Public Safety Committee.
Oh, that's it.
So that we can refer it back.
Okay, so what step are you, you're chairing that? What step are we
Yes.
at?
So essentially, this is a draft ordinance that would be referred to the Public Safety Committee for review on Wednesday. If it is approved again by the Public Safety, or approved for recommendation back to council again by the Public Safety Committee, it would then come to council on April 20th. Essentially, the long and the short of it, if I may, Tammy, is that we have some issues, or actually Chief is right here. We have some issues in the parking lots attached to city parks. They don't currently have hours, so the police have some challenges with enforcing no loitering after folks should reasonably be gone from those parks. Council will hear this because it is an ordinance. It does have to be referred to committee because the city charter requires penal ordinances that have fines to first go to committee. But you guys will get to see this again if it comes back from committee.
Okay, so we don't need a motion on that, correct? We do need a motion. Okay, so is there a motion to refer the ordinance to the committee?
I'll motion.
Thank you. Support?
I'll second.
I'll second.
You've got them all, so go with Fred on that one. And clerk can call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Reeves?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smisher?
Aye.
Okay. Chief Schick, do you have anything on the staff report? First of all, you're going to be talking about the Certified Crime Prevention Program, though, so fire away on that one.
I am. Yes, sir. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. This is a double referral as well. We've talked about this in chamber, and we're real excited to bring this forward. Many conversations with the Public Safety and Quality of Life Committee. Presentation I'm about to provide offers a concise overview of the Certified Crime Prevention Community Program examined by the Public Safety and Quality of Life Committee, including required core elements and optional elements that strengthen our community safety. The focus and real strength of the program is in its structure, collaboration, and measurable prevention strategies. Based on a state-certified program established in Virginia in 1998, the effectiveness of these community initiatives is well documented, with clear reductions shown across reported property and person crime categories for each of the participating localities. This initiative is grounded in one of the most significant crime prevention strategies of the 20th and 21st centuries, Neighborhood Watch, which demonstrated the power of strong relationships between the community and law enforcement. Building on that proven foundation, the Certified Crime Prevention Program emphasizes structured collaboration across every sector of our community, including local government, citizens, businesses, civic organizations, and groups representing protected populations. Developing a sustainable and effective crime prevention framework requires consistent community, consistent community participation and adherence to the program's established core and optional elements. By embracing this structured collaborative model, Canyon City can strengthen public safety, enhance community trust, and ensure long-term success in reducing crime and improving quality of life issues. Core 1 has to deal with crime prevention. The purpose of the Crime Prevention Committee is to work collaboratively to identify community needs and concerns, develop practical ideas and programs to address them, and establish a coordinated city crime prevention strategy. The committee also plays a key role in ensuring accountability by monitoring progress, evaluating outcomes, and supporting consistent implementation across all participating sectors of our community. Core element number 2 has to deal with certified crime prevention specialists. The police department has a trained and certified crime prevention specialist who conducts vulnerability assessments using crime prevention through environmental design concepts, and we are actively pursuing advanced certifications to further expand our capabilities. In addition, we have 2 members on the Public Safety and Quality of Life Committee, each with engineering backgrounds, who are currently working toward their initial national certifications towards CPTED, again, further strengthening our community's crime prevention capacity. We're really excited about that. Cores 3 and 4 talk about the essentialness of that collaboration. As previously noted, Neighborhood Watch remains one of the most effective community-based crime prevention tools in our toolbox. Ms. Herron, our crime prevention specialist, has revitalized and expanded this program from one single inactive group towards the end of 24, beginning of 25. By the end of 25, we had nearly 15 active Neighborhood Watch groups participating across the city. Those groups are each assigned a specific officer and a community service officer to help close those communication gaps and help us identify those needs and concerns. We plan to continue this momentum by partnering with additional neighborhoods this coming year. And based on assessed needs and interests, we certainly should be looking at launching a Business Watch program to support our commercial areas as well. Community policing combined with structured planning through this Safe City Committee will ensure long-term coordinated strategies that strengthen the safety and quality of life throughout Canyon City. Cores 5 and 6 have to do with the flow of information and sharing that information with our citizens and our businesses to make sure everybody's singing from the same sheet of music and we all understand where each is postured. Public awareness and structured assessments provide the foundation for guiding deployment decisions and shaping effective prevention efforts. A strong program marketing component paired with full circle communication ensures our community remains informed, engaged, and able to share those emerging needs and concerns. This continuous feedback loop allows the committee to adjust strategies, strengthen partnerships, and maintain a responsive, community-driven crime prevention approach to crime prevention. Cores 7 and 8 have to do with crime analysis. Excuse me. Crime and community needs analysis drives proactive policing by identifying emerging issues before they escalate. School safety audits ensure compliance with established standards and helps maintain safe learning environments. Early crime pattern detection audits focus on vulnerable populations such as schools, special needs groups, senior citizens, further enhance safety by identifying those risks, guiding interventions, and supporting consistent community-wide prevention efforts. Cores 9 through 12 deal with various service providers throughout the community, again, expanding and collaborating towards essential needs and concerns. They address commercial crime, victim support, youth prevention, and agency professionalism through accreditation. While prevention remains a central focus, timely responses to community concerns and emerging needs are equally important. They often lead directly to effective prevention strategies. Juvenile delinquency programs further strengthen this framework by providing early intervention, reducing risk factors, and supporting positive youth development, benefits that extend well beyond the individual and contribute to a safer and healthier community as a whole. Agency accreditation is a key component of this work, ensuring that professional standards are met and that services are delivered consistently, ethically, and in alignment with nationally recognized best practices. Optional elements. We have to select 7. There's a wide swath or array of optional elements to pick from. The optional elements allow localities to tailor the prevention strategy to the local needs while demonstrating a broad commitment to overall safety. Optional element examples. These programs support prevention across schools, neighborhoods, and businesses. They also enhance communication and recognition. One prized program that has stood true in these programs is the Triad program, founded through a cooperative agreement between AARP, the International Associations of Chiefs of Police, and the National Sheriff's Association. This enhances safety for older adults by fostering active information sharing between seniors and local law enforcement. Additional optional elements further strengthen a locality's prevention strategy by addressing diverse community needs. A legal class action, for example, programs such as Class Action, a legal education initiative for teens, help young people better understand the justice system, focus on the internet safety, and the consequences from destructive decisions. An employee watch program equips professionals such as postal carriers, delivery drivers, meter readers, and maintenance personnel, utility workers and maintenance personnel to serve as additional eyes and ears in our neighborhoods, alerting law enforcement to suspicious activity while they're performing their regular duties. Other valuable elements that we currently have in place include, but are not limited to, Crime Stoppers, National Night Out, our School Resource Officers Program, and a Safe House Program for victims of domestic violence. These elements expand prevention into specialized areas such as domestic violence, code enforcement, public housing, youth and family support. Together, these optional components allow communities to broaden their prevention efforts and address safety concerns across all populations. We already operate many similar programs, including Safe to Tell, a modern school crime line reporting system. We have truancy prevention initiatives. We already have code enforcement actively engaged in our communities. We have a number of IGAs and MOUs. These optional elements just give us another opportunity to expand those service areas and focus areas. Domestic violence response, pretrial services. Each of these programs contributes to early intervention, problem solving, and a healthier, safer community. Together, these optional elements again give localities the flexibility to build a robust, tailored prevention strategy that reflects the community's unique needs, resources, and community priorities. By combining proven programs with local innovation, communities can strengthen partnerships, expand engagement, and enhance overall safety. I welcome questions and ideas on discussion on implementation priorities as we determine which elements will provide the greatest impact for Canyon City moving forward.
Any questions? How far along did this get in the committee?
So what happened in the committee, Chief gave a presentation quite a bit longer than this, and we had some discussion about elements of it, and would this really work as our guiding light for the committee moving forward? Is this on the public safety side of the house, and quite a bit of quality of life as well, but would this work as a framework to kind of advance a lot of the different interests and priorities that we have, including, obviously, reducing crime? And the chief, very wisely, in my opinion, wanted to make sure that not only did the county approve it, but before he started reaching out to other local leaders that we would have to be in close partnership with, but that the city council approved it as well. So once, if this body so chooses, approves it, the plan is that I will accompany Chief as the chair of that committee to the various agencies that we would be partnering with to start really building out that framework, including what is the timeline, what are the action steps, and it would be a primary focus for the Public Safety Quality of Life Committee moving forward, if it has council's blessing.
Okay.
Yes, ma'am. Very well said. Thank you.
Any other questions from other council members? Is there a motion to approve as presented what the chief has put forward, and it includes going back to public safety at this point, and
recruiting.
the chair and the chief will move forward with pulling rest of the community that the stakeholders that need to be pulled in. So that's a motion?
Yes, Mr. Mayor, I recommend to adopt and support the Certified Crime Prevention Program and send it back to the Public Safety Committee.
Very good. Is there a support?
Second.
Okay. Clerk would call the roll, please.
Councilmember Dennehy?
Aye.
Maloney?
Aye.
Reeves?
Aye.
Tony?
Aye.
Worthington?
Aye.
Mayor Pro Tem Smisher?
Aye.
Thank you, and we've got you on for one other thing. I am going to intervene just one thing because the city administrator as well as the public information officer put out a statement. There's been some online activity, and I'd just like to read that so that the council and the city is in sync with it. So it has to deal with sex trafficking and escort services, and because you're here. So the city takes this issue very seriously. Human trafficking and sexual exploitations are crimes, and they are 100% unacceptable in our community. The City of Canyon City does not tolerate human trafficking or any criminal activity. Because these matters can involve active law enforcement efforts, we won't comment on specific allegations, incidents, or investigative details. That standard helps protect victim safety, officer safety, due process, and the integrity of any investigation and prosecution. If you have information or concerns about human trafficking or any other crime, please report it to law enforcement. In an emergency, call 911. For non-emergencies, contact the Kansas City Police Department non-emergency line 719-276-5600. You can also submit anonymous tips through Crime Stoppers, and I'm going to read that number as well, 719-275-STOP, S-T-O-P. If you or someone you know may be a victim or survivor or needs support, resources are available. And I won't go through all this, but I will list Colorado Organization for Victim Assistance, Colorado's Human Trafficking Hotline, National Human Trafficking Hotline, and Colorado Crisis Services. So I just want there to be no question that Canyon City does not tolerate that kind of behavior. So, Blue Envelope Program, sir.
Shelby, come on up. So tonight I'm presenting a simple, low-cost, high-impact program that improves safety and communication during police encounters with vulnerable community members. From the 30,000-foot view, the Blue Envelope Program helps individuals who may struggle with communication during police contact, during traffic stops, during personal contact. It gives our officers immediate context and helps prevent misunderstandings and unnecessary escalation. The Blue Envelope Program is a simple, compassionate, and effective initiative that improves communication, enhances safety, and strengthens trust between CCPD and the community. It reflects our organizational core values and aligns with modern best practices policing. The program supports some of our most vulnerable residents, those with autism, dementia, hearing impairments, anxiety, again, while enhancing officer safety. It aligns with our mission statement, service excellence. Cost and complexity, the program is inexpensive, easy to implement. Well, I say easy to implement, Shelby did all the work. And widely supported by families, disability advocates, and professional law enforcement agencies across Colorado. In closing, this is a compassionate, practical step that strengthens trust, improves safety, and reflects the kind of policing our community expects and deserves. Now, I will turn it over to our co-responding clinician, Shelby Barnett, to share the program details with you. Again, she did all the heavy lifting. I just brought it out here so that council could get a look at it.
Welcome.
I appreciate it, Chief. I appreciate it, Chief. Good evening. Like Chief said, Shelby Barnett. I'm the clinician at the police department. He brought this to my attention a couple of months ago, and after doing some research, it started in Connecticut in 2020, and it's had widespread success over the nation since then. I believe that everyone got materials before the meeting. Awesome. So pretty much if you're a participant, this is a voluntary program, completely on the person. So they would kind of just come to the records department. All of these documents will be housed in records, and they would come. They would present, "Hey, I'm looking into this." They would be presented a trifold. They would be presented an envelope. At that point, completely in their hands. We're not keeping a list on these people. We're not keeping any sort of documentation. And so then they would go. They would put their driving documents within these envelopes, their registration, their insurance. They could even put like list of prescriptions. They could put maybe like list of caretakers if there's multiple, just so the officer's kind of operating with all pieces of the puzzle, especially if the person is nonverbal or especially if the person has hearing loss. Maybe a seizure disorder is on the spectrum. So with that being said, then during that interaction, it wouldn't only be easier for the officer to kind of navigate that, providing that service excellence piece, reminding themselves that this may not be the most normative interaction, but it's also going to make it easier on the person trying to navigate that already stressful situation. I struggle finding my registration whenever I have an officer in my window. So just kind of the core elements of this program, I really I really aligned with, and so it will be trained throughout the agency by the end of this week. Like I said, it'll be housed in records, but if there's any questions, there's a phone number that's to dispatch, and they can just ask Blue Envelope. Dispatch is already aware, to give those phone calls to me. And then the email also comes to me, and then all those questions can be answered and coordinated further, so it can be a successful program and outreach.
Great job. Thank you. Any questions?
I
You're
also have
welcome.
a couple of extras, if you want me to do that as well.
Yeah, the significance of this program can't be overstated. Every organization, police organization, has had an unfortunate opportunity where police action or contact escalated unnecessarily because there was an unknown context, somebody with a condition, nonverbal autism, anxiety. We all dread, a situation like Aurora had a couple years ago with Elijah McClain, where that situation escalated very quickly and unnecessarily. This program will give our officers some context that something's a little different here. I need to slow down. I need to speak slower. I need to remove the lights out of their eyes, those triggers and things that cause these things to go a different direction. So we're very, very happy to be able to roll this out. And she didn't give herself enough credit. She's not only going to train all of our people, she's training dispatch. She's working with other surrounding organizations around us to expand that safety envelope. So
Okay.
kudos to you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you.
Next on the agenda is Resolution 8, Series 2017, discussion. And I think Superintendent Payne, you're around here somewhere? Welcome, sir.
Travis, can you touch on that 9th Street water break real quick before you start the presentation?
Thursday, last week, we had a water main break as a result of some construction activities we had on the 9th Street reconstruction project. I think that call came in, if I remember right, somewhere around 10:30, something like that. Staff responded, had the water shut down an hour, 23 minutes. We were very happy about that. That's a very good response time for shutting down a 12-inch water main that had completely ruptured. Not like we can just turn the faucet off on that one, so it takes a little bit of time. We responded very quickly, got it shut down. Yeah.
Okay, very good.
Yep.
Yeah, I think being modest again there, you had the whole team show up in a moment's notice and did that response there. You have an idea on the cause of that water main break?
It's still being talked about, and I think we got to do a little more investigation before we go talking about cause of what happened. But yeah, you got a great point there. I mean, we have one staff that's on call 24 or outside of work hours, I should say. And so none of the other staff are required to respond in any of these events. And every person that was called responded to help out, and it was really nice to see. So yeah, staff did a great job on it.
Great, thank you.
Yep.
Resolution 8.
All right, Resolution 8, series of 2017, describes how the city should respond when there's a water main break that affects private property, and our insurance determines the city is not liable for any compensation. Staff feels the reasoning for the policy is laid out well in the whereas section of the resolution, which I'll read. There are occasional water line breaks in the city of Canyon City. Even though the breaks occur in city water lines, the city typically does not have legal liability for damages caused by such backups because the lines are not negligently operated or maintained. Citizens do not typically carry the necessary insurance coverage for damage caused by water line breaks on or adjacent to private property. Citizens' relations would be enhanced by the payment of at least some of the expense incurred by households that experience damage as a result of a city water line break, and the City Council desires to implement a policy that provides money to property owners for reimbursement of cleanup costs associated with the city water line breaks. As this issue is coming up with a property owner in town, staff felt it was necessary to revisit the policy to see if City Council still feels the amount in the resolution, $10,000 max payment to the affected property owner, is still the proper amount. The issue was talked about in the February 25th Water Committee meeting, and all present members agreed it should be forwarded to City Council for discussion. You guys all have the resolution itself in front of you. I'm certainly not going to read it line by line. So really, I'm just looking for direction of whether.
What's the date on that resolution?
It's 2017. I'm not, 6th day of March 2017 is when it was approved.
Tim
So-
Foster, is
Oh,
this
10
the
years
issue you
ago.
wanted to address?
Yep.
So if Tim is here, you can go ahead and come on up if you would. Good evening, sir.
Good evening, Mayor. Good evening, Councilman. So we had the issue with my mother-in-law's house that we're trying to sell her estate. We had hoped to get the house on the market the end of February, but now it's undetermined when we're going to be able to get it on the market. Our insurance has declined payment because it's not a structure of the house that caused the damage. The city's insurance has declined because city immunity, but we have basically, the entire crawl space of the building was submerged. Furnace was submerged all the way to the floor joists in the house. The result of that, it's an older house, so the foundation has crumbled on one side. One whole side of the house is starting to sag. So we have considerable damage, and I'm close to 60 years old. I am working 50 to 60 hours a week on my regular job, and then I maintain my property on my spare time, and I'm trying to find time to go in and muck out 4 feet of mud out of the entire crawl space, a bucket at a time. It's just amazingly hard. It's gonna be months to get this resolute, and the fact that we don't have the equipment or the personnel or the money to have professionals come in and do it right. So we're losing money. The house still has a mortgage, so we're still paying that mortgage. Yeah, it's just gonna be very hard for us.
Okay. The house is not livable right now?
The house is not livable. The doors won't open. The only access into the house is now through the garage.
Okay. Thank you, sir. Any questions for Tim? Yes, Amy.
Thank you. Just, and apologies to have to ask, do you have estimates or quotes? Do you have a sense of what it would cost? I'm quite confident it would be way more than 10,000. I'm just trying to get a sense of the magnitude.
We have not, we were told not to do anything until the insurance adjusters came back because they wanted to see it in its damaged state.
Sure.
They had, the city's insurance company had the inspector come in and then had an engineer come in to check the level of the damage of the foundation and everything. Our insurance company is still playing fast and loose and saying, yeah, we're not responsible. We're still hoping that maybe something will come of that, but in the meantime, I've got a fan going trying to dry out the crawl space, and it's been a couple months now, and yeah, it's not drying out really fast, as you can imagine. I live an hour outside of town up in the mountains, so every time I have to come down to work, it's short intervals, and yeah, I am guessing, since this foundation damage and stuff, it's gonna be a lot more than we can afford.
Thank you.
Appreciate your calm presentation for something that has to be very difficult, so thank you. Yes, sir. Any?
No, I'm just, was just gonna reinforce it. I'm just looking for some direction. As it currently stands, you know, this is the policy that I would follow based on council direction from 2017. $10,000 amount 10 years ago, you know, that's when that was established, so. As it stands now, this is what I would follow, and just making sure that everybody's on the same page of whether this is what we'd want to see going forward.
What do you recommend? What would you think?
As far as like a dollar amount?
Yeah.
Yeah, I was hoping to get that from you guys, quite honestly.
Okay, Kathy
Yeah.
first.
Has any thought been given to making a percentage of the damage? In other words, instead of a flat $10,000, say it's a $40,000 repair, is there a way of doing maybe a percentage to where either increase the 10,000 or at least base it on something besides just the flat 10,000?
Yeah, I think where that becomes a challenge is, having a dollar amount makes it easier to budget. And we don't necessarily have a line item dedicated to this, but if you have a percentage of, it's a percentage of an unknown amount, and that makes it really tough to budget for. So I think a dollar amount, like a max dollar amount, and that's not saying you're going to pay that out every single time. I think the intent going forward is to recommend that this go before maybe the water committee whenever we have some sort of citizen request for it. It gets talked about in a group. I don't think it should be any one person. Staff does not feel like it should be any one person. So maybe a water committee could recommend a certain dollar amount to management.
Okay, Councilmember Tony?
I'd like to propose up to a dollar amount, $10,000 in 2017. Everybody knows what that's going to buy today, but I'd like to put a number out there of 25,000 and see what the council thinks.
Yes.
Thank you. Just a couple more questions. Do you know what any other communities do? Or would it be possible to get that information? I wholeheartedly agree with the sentiment that it probably needs to be more, but I'm just wondering if there's any precedent.
Yeah, let me give a little context, because I think Mr. Payne kind of alluded to some of this. A lot of communities do have this. It's what's commonly referred to as a good neighbor policy. The reason it's referred to that is because the city's not at fault. Most insurance policies don't cover this because they don't cover service lines, and this is something that's covered only if you have a service line rider. I mean, I'm sure that you could do some sort of survey of other communities for what their number is. This is frankly not out of the ballpark for what I have seen for good neighbor policies, in large part because it's the city saying, look, we know we didn't do anything wrong, but we still want to help out. So it is really kind of council discretion, and I think the idea of doing some sort of survey of communities is probably a good idea, but this is certainly not fair because, folks are getting obviously harmed by this, and it's unfortunate that homeowners insurance policies don't cover this, but it is purely discretionary in terms of what the city decides is the right number when it's not going to cover, in a lot of cases, the total amount.
Thank you. And just one other question for
Sure, Amy.
Superintendent Payne, if that's all right. How many of these have we paid out since 2017? Like, how many people have filed? Do we have a sense of, does this happen once every 10 years, or is this every year?
So I can speak for sure for the 4+ years that I've been in this position, and we haven't ever had to utilize this. Doing research since 2017, I couldn't find anything to show that we'd ever had to use this. So certainly not something that comes up very often, thankfully. But we're about ready to deal with one, so I think it was appropriate to revisit.
Thank you.
Was that a motion?
So you looking for a motion? Oh.
Well, I just have one question. What, you mentioned, Corey, you mentioned service line rider. Was that super expensive insurance policy?
I think it's going to depend on your insurance policy. I also know that there is at least a couple of companies that provide a service where they work through a city to advertise for this type of insurance because it's not available. There's one called, I think, Service Line Coverage, and I can find out because one of my clients has it. But it is something that is just not included with your standard homeowner's policy.
Yeah, and if I could add on, to be clear, this is not for a service line break. It specifically excludes service lines. This is for a water main break that causes property damage.
Right.
Would there be a type of insurance that would cover a water main break for the city? Is that something we could look into?
I spoke briefly about this with HR risk management, and they felt that it would not be something that the city would be able to get any additional insurance that would cover a homeowner through the city.
Yeah, and the reason for that is, Travis mentioned immunity. The city is immune from liability except if it was negligent. And the way in which you show you weren't negligent is to have regular maintenance schedule. City has all that, so when something like this happens, the first thing CIRSA, the city's insurer, does is says, okay, what is your maintenance schedule? What did the city do or not do? And the only way that there is coverage, if you will, or liability, is if the city didn't maintain its service lines consistent with the reasonable standard of care.
Do we need to have a good neighbor policy that is consistent, or can we take it case by case? And so asking this gentleman to get how much the cost is so we can make a determination based on that?
I would suggest it's consistent because the city's been lucky. This is frankly, Canyon's been luckier than any of my other clients that provide water service in terms of not having these type of circumstances. But if you have it discretionary, the more discretion you have, the more likelihood you have of it being applied unequally, which creates additional risk for the city. So I would come up with a straight number.
Okay, thank you. Did you make a motion or did you not?
And if we get direction tonight, we would bring the resolution back with a new number. So we're not looking for, we don't need a motion tonight. What we need is direction to bring back a number to put in an updated resolution.
So he says no motion, but a motion to push to committee? Or we just need to
No.
recommend to send to committee so the committee could come up with a,
So you want to go to the water committee?
So it's already been through Water Committee, and they recommended that the discussion happen here. If you guys have a number that you're directing me to, what I would do is then just bring a clean resolution for 2026 that just updates it and is just a new
understand.
document. And so I would just bring it next council meeting or the one after.
And this does not need to go to committee. Just to be clear, this is not an ordinance that has, so.
Okay, so we can adopt it at the next meeting.
Correct.
Okay, I'm open to suggestions for a number. Yes,
I would suggest giving the direction that we, personally, and it seems like it's a sense of council that the number should be higher, but perhaps polling similar communities across Colorado to get a sense of what is the modern day number that's put in there.
that's what I was thinking. Same thing, look at it again after you maybe see what other cities are doing, and then we'll go from there.
Okay, one of the things I could do is survey, take the average of that, slap it in a resolution, and if you guys want to change it at that time, then you can change the resolution when I bring it forward. Okay.
yeah, the only thing I have a problem with the average is that there could be a really low number that somebody has and some of the others are more fair. I'm wondering if we couldn't get at least the numbers so we could take a look at those.
Sure, survey 510.
Yeah.
I can do that.
Okay. Tim, we're working on it. Okay. Okay, the big item next is from the same person who's there, Superintendent Payne, and we're talking about the water report as far as where we're at.
Yep. So council has the draft water shortage response plan developed by the Water Committee. We spent, I think, about 3 months, fall of last year, going through this and trying to update this plan. I dug one up from, I think it was 92 or something like that. No, excuse me, I think it was 2002, developed in times of that drought. So again, another old document that I thought might be appropriate to get updated, and it turns out it's quite timely. Lays out 3 different stages we can go through and the goals that each stage would be trying to achieve. Water storage watch, and stage 1 would be voluntary with no enforcement. Stage 2 would be where enforcement would take effect. The attached emergency water shortage response actions table lays out what each water use would be allowed for each associated element. Section 1304-150 of our code allows the city administrator to put a water shortage response plan in place. The exact verbiage is as follows. The city administrator may make other rules and regulations governing the use of water in case of emergency. And when so made, such rules and regulations shall have the force and effect of an ordinance. Bulk water sales may be discontinued during an emergency. So since this has the force of ordinance for our section 13, the violations therein would apply. They're listed. I'm not going to read them verbatim, but Just to give an idea of what we're talking about, first fine, or the fine for first offense would be $500, second $750, third would be $1,000. Where stage 2, where mandatory enforcement would take effect, is where water supply cannot meet customers' water needs. This would mean that the water department does not have the ability to divert water from the river, and what we have in the system is what the system can use for any period of time. I'll expand on that a little bit. That can be due to drought, or it could be due to water quality concerns, wildfire, chemical pollution, anything. So while we're more talking about this from a drought point of view, and we would have time leading up to it to know that it's coming, there are times where it's a potential that we would have little to no notice and would need to go straight to a stage 2 because we have no ability to divert from the river. To give you an idea, the water system has around 50 million gallons in the raw water settling reservoir if full. That's certainly a caveat. It's not like we can pull every drop out of that reservoir. A, for mechanical reasons, we need a certain amount of pressure to pull out of there. And B, water quality concerns. Once you get down to the final dregs of a reservoir, you don't necessarily want to pull that in to be treated for drinking water standards. We also have 18.9 million gallons of finished water storage. We do have 1,000 acre-feet of water stored in Pueblo Reservoir, project water, we can access as long as there's enough water in the river at the Portland River Gauge. That's the gauge just below the Fremont Sanitation Department. A lot of water reservoir transfers have that kind of bottleneck in place. It ensures enough water at that point of diversion, or at that point of measurement. So the lower water users have enough water to divert. So in order to use that water from Pueblo Reservoir, we have to do a reservoir transfer, and we can only do that if it's, I believe it's 190 CFS at that gauge. So if the river were ever to fall below that level, we can't access that 1,000 acre-feet of water that's stored in the Pueblo Reservoir. I'm currently in talking with other water entities in our area to see if we have the ability to maybe transfer some of that water now rather than wait. That comes with certain risk. There's some money involved with that, of course, but you know, if it comes to that point, it might be well worth knowing, and at least we should know our options. So in light of current water conditions we have now, everybody's probably well aware that we're in drought conditions, fairly serious drought conditions, and in fact, some of the worst snowpack we've seen on record. So I wanted to get this in front of City Council so everybody's aware of what we're talking about when time comes to enact this, because if we enact this, it could be on very short notice. We're not going to have time to have necessarily a council meeting to discuss this. This would be staff recommendation up to city administrator having the power to enact this to have the full force of an ordinance. So I don't know if you guys want to necessarily go through each stage, go through any of the table or anything like that, or if you just want to stop at this point for any questions.
I'd be interested in knowing just where we're at with the snowpack, as many details, what's happening in Florence, what's happening in Fremont County, where's Canyon City in the whole mix, what is our risk, just so the citizens can know this is where we're at and this is what's happening.
Yeah, as I said before, this is about the worst anybody's ever seen at this point. Now, this doesn't mean that it can't get better, right? And nobody's going to sit here and say that we're going to have a good water year, but you know, in conversations like when the water commissioner came to our water committee, he pointed out a year, I think it was 1999, where we had 4 feet dump in May, and it pulled a drought year into an average year. And things like that can still happen. Doesn't necessarily mean we rely on that or anything like that, but this is certainly not the time to blow any alarms or anything like that. It's just time to plan and make sure that we have the proper plans in place when we go. Last time I looked, I think we're at about 11% of snowpack right now, snow water equivalent. So it is pretty rough. 2003 was the last major drought year, and it was not as bad as this was, and they considered that a 400-year drought, you know, and here we are, not 400 years later, and you know, talking about this again. So I believe it's time to start educating public on water conservation means. You know, I've taken a few calls, people asking, you know, should I be planting a brand new lawn? And I said, probably not, you know, I mean, again, we still could get pulled out of it, and we never have to enact any of this stuff, but this probably is not the year to be planting a brand new tree or a new lawn for the potential of what we have to do.
Okay, other questions? Fred?
Yeah, so, you know, I think everyone knows Canyon City has a lot of water shares, lots of water shares. But if there's not water in the river, we don't get those shares, right? And there's actually water calls that could impact us from other places to shut us down, correct?
Yeah, there's Colorado water law works on date of adjudication, so basically when your water right came into being, we'll say. And the older your water right is, the more senior it is, and they have the ability to call other more junior or you know, things that happen later out if they need their water. So there are senior water rights to the water rights we have. We do have very senior water rights, but they're certainly not the most senior that we have on the Arkansas River. So, and I'll go back to 2002, 2003. I think there was a river call for a couple days. And that's what we could be looking at again. It could be looking at something more significant than that. So that's where we would certainly put in, you know, something a little more drastic like a stage 2 and requiring no outside watering, because again, what we have in the system would be it at that point. And you know, if that's for a couple days, great, maybe we don't need to shut all the taps off to outside watering. But if it's looking like a week or two and you know, alarm bells are going off, we need to conserve every drop, because I want to be very clear that if the system goes dry, it's not like we divert and we start sending water to people's taps. That's, you know, boil order. That's making sure that we have proper safety in our water quality and our distribution system before people are allowed to consume that water again. So it's not just an easy thing to refill a system. It's very drastic.
City uses a lot of water itself. The city uses a lot of water itself with the cemetery and the parks and everything else. If we impose this on citizens, what's the city's position for continuing water with our own efforts?
Yeah, the city would be subject to any conditions that we put on anybody else.
Okay, Tim?
The only caveat I'd put to that is I'm not totally clear about the Cemetery Perpetual Care Fund and the requirements that come from that, and I certainly could research that a bit more.
Okay, what about the golf course?
Golf course would be, I mean, in stage 2, if there's no outdoor watering allowed, they would be subject to that.
Okay, Tim? I'm sorry. Go
Yeah.
ahead.
Travis, I appreciate that. The only thing I'm just going to, this is just for an information thing, and thanks for all the information, just to let some people know, some of the basic ditches and that we're talking about already in town are already on their stage 1 on River Call. That came out, I believe it was yesterday or today. So, you know, like you said, unless we get something, you know, we're going to, you know, as far as the river, you know, the ditches, people watering out of ditches and that River Call, that's going to all be, and that's obviously based, just like on what you said, on who has the oldest rights. But I just wanted to just let you know that, and thanks, Travis. You do an absolutely fantastic job. Thank you.
Thanks, sir.
Okay, I'll go, no, Amy first, then Kathy on this one.
Thanks. Just two, I guess, clarifying questions that you already clarified for me via email, but I do think that they're worth talking through. There's the water shortage emergency response stage 2, and it talks about enforcing a mandatory 50% reduction in water use. And could you just explain to me, or explain to everyone what you explained to me about how that actually works?
Yeah, I mean, the measures outlined in the response plan, we would expect to see somewhere around a 50% reduction. The specific question related to making sure that it's not like we will be capping people at 50% of their normal usage. That is not what's being discussed when we talk about 50% reduction. It's across the entire system, and that's what we would expect to see if we're not allowing any outdoor watering.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Oh, sorry.
Go ahead.
And then just on the athletic and playing fields and golf courses, stage 1 is irrigated via defined schedule. Is that defined schedule defined by a city staff recommendation to the city administrator in terms of number of days? Or is it that saying that these entities would need to define a schedule?
Yeah, I think that we would want them to define a schedule. I don't think that we would define, I mean, when we talk about golf course, I know nothing about watering a golf course, right? So I think it'd be working with those entities, especially stage 1 being voluntary, of, you know, trying to educate about the importance of conserving water where we can. So I think it would be kind of a more conversational thing rather than, you know, again, it's not mandatory, it's voluntary, so doing what we can to stave off any potential river call. Because it kind of goes into a further point of, you know, phase one doesn't really save our system, right? That's for phase 2. Phase 1, the intent is greater good. If communities all up and down Arkansas River institute things like phase 1, it helps stop river calls because there's more water in the river. We're not taking more water for the river, so it's a greater good mentality. Phase 2 is, okay, well, this is what we have in the system. We need to conserve everything we have.
Thank you.
Kathy?
Travis, having lived under strict water rationing in Denver area a few years ago, you have here like maximum 3 days a week of customer's choice, you know, as far as watering their grass and so forth. I would suggest that you need to be a little bit more specific as far as setting up even and odd days or something that way, because in order to be able to, excuse the expression, police that, you need to be able to have a clue as to who's supposed to be doing what. So I would make that recommendation for sure.
Thank you.
I know that in Colorado Springs, previous droughts, they've done exactly that, where they had specific addresses. That way they could police it.
How about a community meeting so citizens, they may have been aware here, but to have something at Steeple or someplace that we could have a lot of people and just talk about this, because I think more carrot and less stick would be the way to do this, as opposed to saying we're going to pass all these penalties and again, as Kathy's using the police agency kind of thing, that we would have something where we're all in this together and let's have a meeting and this is what we're expecting, and kind of a full disclosure kind of situation.
Yeah, absolutely. I have a meeting with PIO officer this week. We're going to start talking about how we would get the word out and what the best way of doing that is, especially when we talk about stage 2 and if we're talking about fines and whatnot. We need to make sure that everybody's educated, and we certainly would not be finding people for, you know, first use. Like it's always education first. It's always making sure they know, documenting that. Then if we got to go back and they're still, you know, wasting water, then we would have to take more stringent actions. But certainly education first every time.
I don't think we can start too soon on that as far as getting a meeting going.
I'd suggest that if you can make a one-page summary and the stages, maybe Christy Gotham could put it in marketing on our social media as well. And the paper.
It reminds me too that everybody needs to follow us on Facebook and YouTube so they can actually get this information. And everyone who watches, tell other people to do the same thing.
Appreciate it.
Do you have anything else?
I do not.
Any other questions? Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Appreciate it.
Thanks to you and the Water Committee as well.
Yeah, appreciate it.
Okay, next up is District 3 Council. Yes, who's got a question? Speaking of District 3 Council seat. That's coming up next on the agenda, sir.
But I had submitted a request to speak on the water.
Oh, I didn't catch that. I caught it on the other ones. So you're welcome to speak. Go ahead.
My question is, as I read it, why would new plantings of grass, seed, or vegetation take precedence over a golf course? As I read it, those are exempt. If you plant a new lawn, you can keep on watering it, but if you've got the golf course, you got to cut back.
So I think that was under stage 1 is what you're talking about?
It was under 2 and 3, I thought.
Yeah. As I remembered, it was stage 1, and that's kind of, if somebody's put the money to put a brand-new lawn in, the intent was to try to give it the best chance to take hold. I mean, if you have an established lawn, you know.
Education for this year would be not to do that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's, yeah,
Okay.
exactly. So
Thank you.
that's kind of the intent there.
Thank you, Mike. District 3 Council seat. Clerk.
Yes, sir. We have 3 applications, and I apologize, I meant to get those to you today. I will get those to you first thing tomorrow. The time has passed, so we have all that we will get. In the past, you have chosen a date for a special meeting. We've invited those members in. They are interviewed one at a time with only one in the council chambers at a time, though audience members could be here. They're interviewed one at a time. Each council member asks them one question, the same question to each person, and then they're brought back in and you vote right there on who will be placed on council. I need to know if that is how we are going to proceed this time, or if there's going to be a change so that we can get that set up since we are ready to go.
What are your wishes, council?
Do it the same we done it.
Want to set up a special meeting for this?
Yes, I'll send out a doodle poll so I can get a date from you guys so everybody can be there, and then we'll get that set up. Thank
Okay.
you. Oh, yeah.
Jerry?
I've been through this process a long time ago, but didn't the candidates talk to council and then council, or then the candidates went into the back room?
Yep, only one at a
So
time
we
is in
weren't
here.
like discussing in front of the candidates and then
No, they'll be out here for the discussion part. You
Oh,
have to
okay.
have that as a public, and the vote has to be public. And it's all broadcast.
As I remember, when I went through the process, after you are interviewed, you're allowed to stay in the audience. But those who have not been interviewed still stay in the ante room and until they're called out, interviewed, and then they're allowed to stay.
That way they don't hear each other's answers from what I
Well, right,
understand.
I get that part. I just thought the discussion wasn't in front of the candidates, but that's okay.
And we usually do it by random draw on who goes in what order.
Okay, so we're going to be polled by the clerk and come up with a date for a special meeting and make that happen with the 3 candidates.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. And the last issue is council committees, and I think, Amy, you brought up this issue, so what are you thinking?
Sure. I just had a couple of questions. As a committee chair, I always want to make sure that I'm doing things legally and by the book. So I think, unfortunately for you, Attorney Hoffman, Attorney Sellers is the one who agreed that this would be a helpful agenda item. But now you get the questions.
I'm ready.
So, as Councilmember Tony mentioned in his presentation, for a while there were subcommittees on his committee. On mine, sometimes we have special meetings of and I think on Mayor Lund's as well, where some members will go and do a thing. Are notes required for those subcommittees and for special meetings? And if so, what should they consist of?
Notes are not required. Just like with a council workshop, there's not necessarily a requirement of minutes. Now, council can set those policies. If you want, it's really up to you, the level of formality you want from whether it be the committees or the subcommittees for that matter. But they are all open meetings. They all have to be noticed. But the level of detail of the minutes is really more of a policy question for you all.
Okay, so we have, I think they're called action minutes for our city council meetings. Do we even have to do those?
You don't. I mean, you could, but you want something, I think, to reflect what has happened, and really that's up to you to decide how best to do that.
And what Catherine had said previously is that they are recorded, and that can be considered the minutes. I do have them fill out a form for me that says the start time and who was there and the end time that I just file, so I have it for us to have. It does not currently get approved by the committee. It's just something that's filled out by the chair. I didn't know if that, we talked about if that would be acceptable. We didn't know what level.
Again, that's the policy question, because that would require all of the members of council, if they wanted to hear it, to go listen to the recording. And so that's why this is really a policy question, not a legal one.
Any pleasure from the committee or the council?
I mean, I know that given that they aren't committees of the whole, it may be helpful for people who aren't able to attend the meetings to at least have the action minutes for the committee meetings where like formal votes are occurring.
Formal votes, yes, I agree with that.
I don't think that we necessarily record all of the subcommittee or special meetings because they don't even all necessarily happen in here.
Correct, we are just recording the actual committee meetings, not the subcommittee meetings.
Okay.
I've been satisfied with what the city clerk has been giving us, and just quickly fill those out, get them to her, and it talks about who the council members who are there, and then staff who is there, and also then the members who are citizen committee members. And then we had a vote today, and I would attach that to the meeting as well, when there was a formal vote.
I can add a list for any formal vote on the bottom that you could
That'd be great.
document it on there. That would be fine. That's easy for me to do.
Okay. I think that would be helpful. I think we aren't approving them as council, so I don't think that other council members would necessarily see them, but I guess if anybody wanted to, they would just come to your office and ask. Okay. With regard to formal votes, obviously only the city council members and the mayor are voting members. Does that mean that a city council member or the mayor also needs to be the person making the motion and the second?
That is definitely the best practice, yes.
And then would those also need to be roll call votes rather than, so that you're individually asking each person how they are voting?
Again, that is a question of policy. There's no requirement in any law that you do a roll call versus a voice vote.
Okay. So that can just be our preference. I've also had citizens who are committee members ask the 3 people, I wanted to be clear, given that they are appointed to council, they count as one of the people when it comes to an open meeting. And then if somebody is appointed to a committee and somebody is appointed to another committee, 3 people all have to be on the same committee for it to be an open meeting issue.
That is correct. So if there were 2 people from the Economic Development Committee and someone from the Public Finance Committee showed up, that does not
That's not a problem.
make it a meeting.
Awesome. Wonderful. And I think that was all of my questions. Thank you.
Okay, I just have one more announcement, and then we will be adjourned. I met this morning with Rex and Kyle from Rec District, and Kyle, on April 25th, they always have a cleanup for their trails, and Leo has been involved with this as well. And so we're going to have also a cleanup that we're going to do along US 50 on April 25th, and the tentative time is 8 to 12. We'll meet at Centennial Park. Leo's already put in the application for that particular day to be along CDOT. I think they're going to supply some vests and other things like that. We're in the early planning stages, but obviously it's a week before Blossom Festival, and so the goal is to have citizens engage with helping clean up. We've had some complaints along US 50, and rightly so, because it's a mess right now, and so we're going to work on that. Skyline Drive, we'll probably do something, although because of the steep slopes and everything, I think it's going to be search and rescue. We'll have all the ropes and those kind of things to keep us safe. And if we have a lot of people show up, we're going to go deeper into the city and get on different places and pull garbage out of some of the laterals for the ditches, et cetera. So just FYI, there's a lot more coming with that. And again, city staff has been involved with this process.
So are we going to create piles and the city's going to pick them up? How's that going to work?
No, there's a 30-yard dumpster that Kyle has for the rec district that's going to be over by the Griffin Park. And then CDOT has already agreed that on Monday morning they would pick up the bags that are along US 50. So everyone's stepping up to the plate. It's a lot of coordination. And again, I appreciate Leo, his involvement, and Rex and Kyle on his end. And I think it's going to be a good thing, and we want to clean up Canyon City. So, okay. Any other business? We are adjourned.